And today we have, I can't even call him a guest speaker because he's been a part of our church since he was probably like that tall. But one of the things that I truly believe in, I know Chris Spradlin, who was here before, believed in as well, is we believe in bringing up people, training people, seeing talents and giftings in people and calling that out and helping develop that further in people. And so one of the things that happened was probably a couple months ago, we did a speaking class for people who were interested in being communicators in public speaking. And so we had several people do this class with us. And you'll hear from some of them in the upcoming weeks and months. But today, you're going to get to hear Nicolai Buccino. So Nicolai, come on up. A big hand for this guy. He is... what I'm really excited about, he's speaking from his heart today, speaking about something that's near and dear to your heart, and I know to my heart as well. And I am just super psyched. Thank you for taking all the time and prep to do all this. And let's hear from Nicolai.
Is this thing working? Oh, perfect. It's good. All right. Hi, everybody. Like you said, I'm Nicolai. I've been growing up in this church since I was really little. Took a speaking class with Chris McCombs and Chris Spradlin, and so I get to this class. The class is really weird, by the way. We get up here and speak for like 10 minutes in front of like 5 people, and they're like, okay, speak like you're going to speak to a church, but there's only 5 people, and they just stare at you the whole time, like. So this is a lot better, actually. So yeah, we took the class, and then like 2 weeks after, they're like, so let's get you scheduled in for speaking for the church, and I'm like, no, I'm okay, thanks. I'll pass. But here I am. I live here in Steamboat Springs. I work with Young Life. I get the privilege of working with Aaron Warner in the back there. So I work with kids every week. I love it. Youth ministry is my heart. It's my passion. So it's cool to be up here and talk with you guys. And yeah, it's definitely a privilege. I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous. My parents like all week are like, are you nervous? You nervous? I'm like, no, I'm fine. It's whatever. This morning I'm like, okay, I'm really nervous. My heart's tectonic. So yeah, I have a story. I'm going to tell you guys a story. A couple of years ago, I don't know if you guys know my little brother Cole. There he is. He's right there in the camo shirt. He's an awesome little kid. He's super goofy. I have fun with him. He's crazy for sure. So we're in Starbucks. I would come home from college, and we would hang out, and we would have coffee, and we would talk, and we're sitting there. He's being super goofy as always. I don't even think we're really talking. He's yelling. People are staring. It's awkward. And there's this lady in the corner, and she's kind of big. Like, she's just bigger. I'm sorry if that offends you. That's just what it is. And so we're sitting there, and he's like, that lady's really fat. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Just quiet. We're in Starbucks, which where I work now. So we're sitting in Starbucks, and he keeps saying it, and I'm like, look, it's not a big deal. And at this point, like, he's saying it loud, and the girl in the corner can hear. Like, she's looking over at us, and I'm like, oh, crap. She comes over, and she's like, will you tell your brother or whoever he is that I'm pregnant and I'm not actually fat? Yeah, that's an awkward moment. So yeah, today we're going to talk about judgment. So if you're thinking to yourself, sweet, we're going to talk about judgment. I'm not a judgmental person. I'm actually a pretty good person. I love everybody. I'm really easygoing. We're in Steamboat. Everyone's awesome. We're all judgmental, every one of us. So this message applies to every single one of you guys. So you picked a good day to come to church. Yeah, we're all judgmental. We walk down the street. We judge people on their outfits, on what they look like, their hair. We're like, that guy's hair is really funny. It's sticking out different places. And that guy smells kind of weird. And he dresses kind of funky. We're all judgmental. The worst part about this to me is judgment doesn't stop at the doors when you walk in. Judgment's not just outside the church. Judgment, I feel like, can be worse in the church. I know some of you guys come in here and you have your weekly routines and you're at work, and then you come to church and you're like, I feel most judged at church. I feel most judged in my family at church. And that's really sad. And I think that's terrible. And Chris McCombs 3 weeks ago talked about how we're this church that loves people, and we need to be a strong community. And I believe that some people come in here and they don't feel that at all. I believe that some people come into church, and our church, and they feel judged. They don't feel welcomed. And if you're here today and you're like, you know what? Cool. This is a cool message, whatever. This church seems really cool. The worship team's cool. Brad looks really awesome with his pants. I had to. I'm sorry. And you're like, you know what? This church seems really cool, but I've been burned most in my life by a church. I feel most accepted outside the church, where in reality, you should feel most accepted by the church. We're supposed to be people that love people that love Christ. And are we loving each other well? And I feel like some people have been burned most in the church. And then also in the church, like we come to this church and then we leave the church and we go have coffee with our friends and our girlfriends and our boyfriends, and we're sitting at Starbucks and we're like, man, I heard about that marriage couple and he's like cheating on his wife, and then this person I know is like addicted to pornography, and I know this guy in the church who sits in the front row, he claims to be a Christian, he's actually addicted to drugs. And we're like, oh, well, we're just talking about it because we're trying to pray for him. We're going to wrap it up as prayer. No, it's not. You're just being selfish and judgmental. Or there's a guy that comes in the church and he kind of smells like cigarettes. He's kind of weird, and you come in the church every week and you're like, he's kind of goofy looking, and I'm not trying to talk to him. And even though I'm supposed to love people, I'm just trying to come in and get my cute little church service where I listen to worship and the pastor gives a nice little talk, and it's my deal. I just wanted to relax. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone and love anybody. This is my thing. I don't want to love anyone in church. What? Let's pray real quick. Dear God, I just thank you so much for this morning and just the opportunity to speak and to share your word. I just pray that I would be an instrument and a vessel for you, and that our hearts and our minds would be open to what you have to say. Praise in your name. Amen. So we're going to start off with a story. It's in John 8, 1-6, if you guys want to follow along. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. At dawn he appeared again in the temple courts where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law of Moses, it commands us to stone such women. Now what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But then Jesus bent down, and he started to write in the ground with his finger. All right, so if anyone ever tells you, they're like, I really have a hard time reading the Bible, it's kind of boring. The Bible is definitely not boring, so let me just set out the situation for you. They bring this woman into the temple court, so that's like church. That's like where we are, it's church. And they bring her to the front, and they're like, hey, we're ready to stone this lady right here in the church. Can you guys imagine someone bringing a woman through the back doors and then wanting to stone her? And they're talking about this in the Bible, so this is like a pretty big deal. And then Jesus, this guy who everyone's following, he kind of makes it a joke. He's like a 3-year-old, and he's like, yeah, this lady's about to be killed. Let me just draw in the sand for a little bit. I'll think about it. Like, Bible's definitely not boring. I think it has a little bit of sarcasm in it, too. So yeah, I actually gave this story. I was talking, Aaron gave this, and I gave this to our kids in Young Life. And talking to Young Life kids is a lot different than talking to you guys. Talking to Young Life kids, I can make some jokes about relationships and how goofy I was in high school, and talk about this Jesus guy and how cool he is, and he has like really long hair, and I'm pretty sure he surfed, and he's like, what up, brah? And like the kids are like, he's awesome. I love when he speaks, but it's a lot different for you guys. So I'm talking about this to the kids, and I'm sure when we talk about stoning, they're like, oh yeah, reefer. No, it's stoning with rocks, okay? So this is the terrible thing. I know you guys are thinking like, cool, stoning, it was back in the old Bible. They don't do that anymore. Yeah, they do. In the Middle East, actually, they still stone people, and it's really sad. They actually bury them to their waist, and then they stone them. And it's usually the family that stones them first. and we're a family, are we stoning our family first? Are we stoning people in our church first? Are we the first to pick up the stones? Are we the first to love? What kind of church are we? I hope we're a church that doesn't pick up the stones. So, the story of judgment, it hits home with me really hard. I was a little weird in high school. There's a picture of me, actually. Just a sec. There I am. I look great, right? My parents are great. They put up with all that. I'm sure people were like, what's wrong with your kid? They're like, I don't know. He's going through a phase. Yeah. So I was weird in high school. I had really long blonde hair. I was in a really weird band and kind of awkward. I didn't really like a lot of people. I was an angry person. I wasn't happy with my life. I wasn't happy where I was. And that was my way of crying out for help. I was like, maybe someone will notice that I'm hurting if I look really weird. That doesn't help at all. People just think you're weird. Don't ever do that. But yeah, all growing up, I was really involved in the church. I was a worship leader by the time I was like 14 years old out in Oak Creek. I was really involved with the church, SCC. God and youth ministry and church, that was my whole life. Like I homeschooled, and all I did outside of homeschooling was ministry and playing the guitar. Like I was 13 and I was like, I gotta learn how to play guitar because I want to be on this worship team. Like I don't know any 13-year-olds that do that. And if you are, you're awesome and kind of weird. I ended up getting really burned in a church, and I felt most judged and most hurt by my youth pastor and my pastor. Out of everybody in my life, my family, my friends, they burned me the worst. And I know some of you guys here feel the same way, if we're honest. All right, we're going to this. The first point I'm going to make is judgment causes separation and pain. Separation, obviously, I was, through all my hurt and stuff, I was really separated from the church. I was separated from God. I was like, look, if the pastor and the youth pastor can't even love me for my weird, blonde-haired, freakish self, why would God love me? I'm done. I'm over it. And in the same way in the story, like she was separated too. These people were trying to kill her. They're not, they were over it. So we're going to finish the rest of the story. So Jesus, he's drawing in the sand. And it's John 8:7-11. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw the stone at her." Again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until Jesus was left. With the woman still standing there, Jesus straightened up and asked for the woman, "Where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you." Jesus declared, "Go now and leave your life of sin." So going back to this point of like Jesus drawing on the ground, like I think of the situation like where they bring this girl in and Jesus is like on the ground drawing. Like, and so I started thinking about like Chris McCombs, and maybe Chris McCombs is like doing like finger paint and stuff. He's like doing little finger paint stuff. So there's weird diagrams. Let's diagram it out. Okay, we'll diagram it out and then we'll make a decision. I love Chris. And so Jesus says, "Go now and leave your life of sin." And so we start with the second point and the second part of the story, and it's about forgiveness. He's like, "Look, I know you've been caught in adultery. I know you've been messing up, but I forgive you. I know you're not in a good place. I know you've been cheating on your wife. I know your marriage isn't good. I know your finances aren't good. I know you haven't been to church in a really long time, and you feel like you're supposed to, and you're like, you know what, I feel really distant from God, and I just don't know, I haven't been praying for a long time, and I can't start now. Now is the best time to start." He's not a God that's like, you know what, you just haven't been that great lately. We'll talk in a month or so, and we'll see how you're doing then. Like, God's not a checklist God. Like, all right, you prayed, cool. All right, awesome. You read the Bible today? That's cool. Like, he's all about the heart, and he forgives you because he loves you. So I had the separation in high school, and the separation in high school like continued on through college, and I got to college and just wasn't living a life that was Christ-like, wasn't living a life that I'm proud of at all, and just very lost in being separated from God and not knowing who I was. And I was really involved in Young Life when I was in high school. Loved it. Thought Aaron Warner and Lucas were super weird, but they hung out with me. I was weird too. It was an awkward situation altogether. But no, they were awesome and they loved me in high school. And so I didn't go to Young Life in college, and then I did. I met this guy, Brian, randomly at lunch one day. I was having lunch. I was by myself. I was just kind of moping around. It was my freshman year. And no, it was my sophomore year. It was last year. And this guy, Brian, comes up to me out of nowhere. And I'm like, he's really tall. He's like 6'7", red hair, really goofy, just skinny, lanky. And he's like walking over. And he just starts talking to me. And I'm like, what does this guy want? And I don't know if you guys have ever been to college, but all the like youth ministers and stuff, they're like crazy. They're like, come have lunch with me every day. We'll hang out and be best friends. I'm like, bro, I'll call you, okay? I'll get back to you. And so he's super intentional with me. And he's just, every time he sees me, hey, man, how you doing? How you been? I haven't seen you. You should really come to Young Life. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I have nothing going on tonight. I'll come to Young Life. There's always really cute girls at Young Life. I'll go. And so I go to Young Life, and I walk in there. And first of all, he's like so stoked to see me. And all night he hangs out with me. And he's so intentional. And he calls me afterwards. He's like, hey, what do you think? Did you like it? Are you going to come back? Like, I would really like to see you back there. And like, for some of you guys are probably like, that's really creepy. For me, I was like, wow, someone actually cares about me. Like, someone genuinely cares about me and wants me to come back and be part of their life. And that means something. And he continued to do that, and he continued to help me out to the point of even, and I feel a little embarrassed telling you guys this story, but I'm going to anyways. I didn't pay a traffic violation, and I went to jail. Yep. I went to jail, and he was the first person to come and be like, dude, I'll pay $500. I'll bail you out. And Jesus is doing the same thing for all of you. He's the first one to be like, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll bail you out. I've forgiven you. I'll do whatever it takes. And it's the same for the woman. She's about to be killed. I'll bail you out. Why? Because I love you. So here's my question. Who do you need to forgive? And who are you throwing stones at? Who are you picking up stones and you're throwing them at people? You're hucking them. You're like, no, I'm so pissed at you. I'm just sick of it. Like, I go to church and there's this guy in the front row and I'm ticked at him. I don't even want to go to church. And you're sitting there and you're talking bad about him. Who do you need to forgive? Who need to set down their stones? And then maybe you're neither of those. Maybe you're the person that is in front of the crowd being ready to stone, or you feel like you've been stoned, and you're just feeling like everyone is hucking rocks at you everywhere you go. Who's with Jesus? Who needs healing? And so this brings us to this point. Why do we need to forgive? Like, that sounds really cool. Jesus forgave me. Awesome. This lady's not going to get stoned anymore. That's really cool. Why do we need to forgive? We forgive because he first forgave us, and he died on the cross for us. And if that's not a big deal and it doesn't wake you up a little bit inside and shake you up, like this guy, this dude, we call him dude in Young Life, this dude died on the cross for you, if that doesn't shake you up, if that doesn't do something to your heart, if that doesn't wreck you a little bit, that this guy died on the cross for you, it should. I know it should wreck me more than it does. But he forgave us first, and that's why we forgive each other. I have this verse. It's Colossians 3:13. You guys can read along with me if you like. It's already up there. Bear with each other and forgive one another. And if any of you have grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. He forgave us. He died on the cross so we could be forgiven. So this is obviously a huge topic. Like, Jesus died to forgive us. Like, obviously the topic of forgiveness and judgment is a big deal, right? Like, we as Christians, we as a church, this is a big deal. This is important. And so my main thing is I want to be a church that loves well. I want to be a church where someone comes in and they know without a doubt that we are a church that loves people well. every single person, no matter how weird, no matter how much they smell, no matter how much they reek like cigarettes and booze in the morning. Like, we love everybody that comes in that door, and we're a church that claims that. We're a real church. We're a church that does that well. A church is not a pastor. A church is not a worship team. A church is a community. A church is you guys. A church is us. And if we can't get that right, I don't know. Like, we just need to be a church, and I know we are. Like, I love this church so much. Like, this morning, Dave Anderson, one of the elders, sent me a text, and he was like, "Hey, dude, you're going to do great this morning. Like, good luck. I'm praying for you." Like, I don't know many other churches that do that. Or all this morning, people were giving me crap, and they're like, "I'll be in the front with tomatoes," and Brad's telling me he's going to sit in the front heckling me, and someone slapped my back with a powdered sugar donut. Thank you, whoever did that. My mom wrote me a note. She's like, "There's powdered sugar on your shirt." I'm like, "I don't know what to do. I can't reach that far. We're leaving it." So that's what I want to end with. Is I want to be a church that loves, and I want to be a church that forgives well, and that we don't give judgment, and that people feel accepted here. And so who do you need to forgive? When you forgive, it brings healing. When you forgive, it brings unity. It brings unity and healing. So I want to be a church that forgives well, and that creates unity, and that we're a whole church, and that there's not tons of people that are hurting constantly. We have enough hurt in the world. We don't need people to come to church and feel more hurt. Let's make a sanctuary here. Let's be a church that loves. So please drop your stones. Let's pray. Dear God, I thank you so much for your message today. That what you have to say in your words, we just thank you for them. We thank you for who you are, and that you're a God that loved us first and forgave us first. We are just so blessed by you. I thank you so much for this church and these people in it, and how they've all touched my life and made me grow and made me the person I am, and for Chris. And I just praise all in your name. Amen.